Okay, so I wanted to do just a quick discussion about problem solving and different levels of problem solving, because we often say this and it's a very generic term that we use. And from one of the field experiences, I got to come in and observe, and I saw problem solving happen in a really beautiful way. It was a kindergarten classroom, and the teacher did such a great job about the students were learning about attributes of shapes, and so they had triangles and squares, and those were the two focus for the discussion. And so different colors, different sizes, and then the different shapes. And it's kind of interesting because later on you talk about attributes of shapes and how color is not a defining attribute, and size can be kind of relative, and you get into further details, but at this point it's at the level that the students are ready for. And she did great problem solving in that she did the first row of all the same color, and it was big square, big triangle, little triangle. And it was cool, and she kind of played that out. You saw that she scaffolded and said, this is the next one, so she drew out equity sticks. She's like, this is what you need to get. I need to see the big triangle, and then go put that one up. So she established that pattern, for him. And then she started the second row. And then she didn't tell the students that she drew out a stick and said, you get the next one that you think is right. And allowing that opportunity, as she started that second row, there ended up being 4 rows. One student started a third row, recognizing that big square started each of the rows. And so started a third row going into it, which was really interesting because now, not only was the second row, I think was, it had done big square, little square, and you would think the next one would be the big triangle, but the student looked at it differently. And then she said, okay, that's cool, we can talk about that. And then allowed another student to go, thereby having 2 options that both are correct pathways for this. So a student could continue on, actually more than 2 options, could continue on the current row, or build on that third row, or start even a 4th row, and being able to see, okay, here are all of my big squares all the way down. So the columns started to come in here with the 2 dimensions and the multiple levels. And she talked, she mentioned to the students, and you guys are problem solving right now, seeing the pattern and seeing what's coming next at the kindergarten level. And so it was just really cool to see that problem solving really taking a big step at that young age. And it was just really cool to see, because later on, we think about problem solving in a lot of different ways, but if we build a nice foundation at that early level, then what problem solving can be. And so, especially as we talk about solving problems, with mathematics, we have a lot of set routines for it and a lot of directed pathways that students can go about it. But this allows, okay, what can be our next step? And asking that where there's more than one option was really just cool for kindergartners to do, and being able to create those kinds of opportunities at every level for our students. Because within certain realms, it might be our next step is, adding the 4 to both sides, and because we're solving for x, and we get very narrow-minded in there. And being able to, as we'll talk about, like with solving equations, that students can do multiple things in different ways, and it still gets them to the same endpoint. And that's where, mathematics, we want that one right answer at the very end. The pathway that we allow for that can be very wide. And so that's just kind of a cool thing to think about with some of the problem solving at the early stages.